Okay. Hi, everybody. Thanks for being here. And I'm super excited today. I have a really special guest. My name is Edie Summers, and my guest is Megan Babcock. And she's the founder. Hi, Megan. She's a coach, and I'm going to share a little bit about her background. And she's also the founder of It's Your Story to Tell, which I'm super excited to talk more about. I think it's just an amazing platform and brand. So first of all, thank you so much for being here, Megan. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. I look forward to talking with your audience.
Yeah, I'm super excited. And so everybody, let me give you a little bit of a background on Megan. Megan is a clarity and strategy coach, and she's committed to helping you find clarity by embracing curiosity, fostering community, and cultivating compassion. And her approach revolves around understanding your needs holistically. I love that. And delving into the root cause of your challenges. So this process allows her to meet you where you currently are, and then together you can develop personalized strategies, goals, and timelines and practices that can propel you forward on your personal and professional development journey. I think that's really beautifully worded, Megan. And then, of course, you wear many hats. So some of your highlights are you're a keynote speaker and business development coach. And I know you also used to work in the corporate sector. I'll ask you a little bit about to share some of your background a little bit after I finish introducing you. Yeah, that would be awesome. Megan also she does coach training, and she has a marketing platform. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. That's, of course, it's your story to tell. That's like a whole ecosystem. Mm-hmm. And Megan is also a personal and professional development coach. And she is a visionary in personal growth and empowerment. And like I said, is the founder of It's Your Story to Tell community and coach collective. So Megan and her team offer a unique blend of personalized one-on-one coaching, which we'll talk about. Also engaging group sessions, enlightening courses, and workshops designed to inspire and uplift. And beyond this, Megan, your initiative also includes a podcast. So thank you so much for inviting me onto that. And it looks really nice. I listened to a little bit of it. It's super well done. And I know you're all about storytelling, right? So we'll dive a little bit deeper into, you're going to share your own story for us here very soon, which I think is great. And then I love how you say that when people can hear their own story in someone else, and then that can kind of lead to healing. And so I really love that. I think that's really, really important. These stories that Megan shares help inspire and encourage listeners to find their own path of self-discovery and design the life they dream of. And then Megan, you're also a seasoned business development expert, which I've personally experienced. And so for coaches listening, so we're going to have people on this call, Megan. Some are going to be people looking for coaching. And then I know that we're also going to have coaches listening to this interview. And Megan has developed a turnkey model specifically for coaches. So this model isn't just about expanding reach. It's also a collaborative environment where coaches can access a wealth of resources for a nominal fee. And this approach ensures the delivery of exceptional services while maintaining the coach's independence. And moreover, it's an opportunity to be part of a vibrant community of talented women, each bringing their unique strengths to the collective. And so this is, I definitely feel like I'm experiencing this myself, that this is more than a call. It's more than a call to join a platform. It's really an opportunity to be part of a movement, and where unity and collaboration are not just ideals, but daily practices. So everybody that's listening, I wrote all of this is in the kind of, if you go on YouTube, you want to click on the arrow and it'll drop down and it'll have all this information on there, and also including how you can get in touch with Megan. And then Megan, I'm going to definitely update that major link that links to everything I didn't have that I realized I didn't have that as a highlighted link, but anyway, I know that it's a long introduction, everybody. However, I think there's a lot to share there. So then Megan, can you share more about your background, if you're okay with that, and kind of how you got into, or what led you up to where you are now?
Sure. Yeah. Well, thank you for having me. Thanks for taking all that time to share about the things that I'm involved in. So, my journey to this point, I've been a nurse for 21 years, which is so crazy to actually
That's
be
amazing.
in a career for so long. But I've really had great fortune in using my nursing degree to springboard me into so many different opportunities within the healthcare industry. So I've worked bedside in a critical care, I've worked in rural hospitals. I then went and worked in pharmaceuticals and medical device. I've been in a biotech company, and about a little over a year ago, so November of 2022, I left the corporate world-ish, meaning
It's hard to leave.
it's hard to leave. No, I left it as an employee, and I'm now a business consultant. And so I work with some different health tech startups. And I also created the It's Your Story to Tell platform. And as the founder, and I'm someone who also shares my story. So there are people that I individually work with, but more so I work with business owners, entrepreneurs. You don't have to be a coach, but somebody who really wants to have a strong foundation, that they're not just looking to create a job for themselves, but they really want to create a business, and they may have a really great vision, but they just need some support when it comes to strategy, operations, and those kind of things. Because a lot of times we can have lots of great ideas, and our creative mind doesn't necessarily mean we have all of the things, the steps that we need to take to bring that into reality. And so with my background, I have all of this experience in operations, in sales, in management, in strategic programs. So it kind of is bringing everything together. So all of those different hats I get to wear in the work that I do. I'm also certified in functional medicine as a nurse, because as I believe in a holistic approach, even when you're building your business, there are so many things that you need to be thinking about in order to preserve your mental health, your wellness, because those things, if they're not good, then it doesn't really matter what your idea is. You're not going to have a successful business. If you aren't able to manage your business and your relationships and all of your responsibilities at home, it all has to come together. And so I am a wife, I am a mother, we're a blended family. So between us, there are 7 kids.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
So a lot of juggling with that. So I bring a pretty diverse background. I myself have experienced trauma in my own life, and that's part of my story, and how it affected me and how it was creating unhealthy coping mechanisms. So I was very successful in the corporate world because I was a people pleaser, I was a codependent, and so give me a goal and I'm going to achieve it. So I've won lots of awards, and I was so unhappy and exhausted and overwhelmed. And then that was also affecting my health. I have an autoimmune diagnosis. And when we're stressed and we're not caring for our body and our mind, they're all interconnected.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness, Megan, I so appreciate everything you just shared. And so there's definitely topics I want to dive deeper into, but first I just want to say to everybody listening that so Megan really walks the walk here. So I think it's brilliant that you have your own business now because you can take all of your skill sets and then also stay in balance and kind of have the best of both worlds. And Megan, everybody, she really knows what she's doing. I've worked with her as a coach kind of on both ends, right? Like kind of more, I would say, holistically and also in terms of strategy. And I also think that your platform is brilliant. So I can't recommend Megan enough to anyone who's listening. I highly recommend joining this platform. That's what I'm doing. And it's just, I think it's amazing. And so there's so much more I could say about that. But let's touch a little bit upon, before we dive deeper into It's Your Story to Tell, since you mentioned that you were diagnosed with an autoimmune condition. Let's talk about that a little bit, if that's okay, because
Sure.
some of our listeners do have maybe something similar, whether it's fibromyalgia or chronic fatigue, or you also mentioned to me, Megan, you have chronic migraines. Is
Yeah.
that right? So if you don't mind sharing a little bit more about your experience that way, and then also maybe a way that if someone were working with you, you also mentioned trauma, right? That you've been through trauma, and that's something I can also relate. I can relate on many of these topics. A chronic condition for me, it's more chronic fatigue, but chronic fatigue can be related to fibromyalgia as well. So if you just want to share a little bit more about anything that's related to those topics, I know that people would really appreciate it.
Sure. So I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia and irritable bowel, which autoimmune, they like to travel together. So like you said, chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, you may have GI issues, you may have chronic migraines. A lot of times you have many of these things going on all at one time. And as a nurse, I never have been one who has wanted to take medication. So that's not that medication is bad, because I think that there is a place for it, but I love integrative complementary medicine, and I always want to think about how can I change something and see if that actually helps me to feel better before I'm going and turning to medication. So I have never had to take medication for fibromyalgia. I do occasionally have to use medication for the migraines if they get to a point where everybody who's had migraines knows, that point where it's the point of no return.
Oh boy.
And I use medication more as a rescue drug, like just to kind of like break that cycle. But when I was in college, I did not admit all of the trauma that I had been through. And so even in college, I hadn't done that, but I was looking to things like chiropractic, acupuncture. I went on very strict diets of whole food and a lot of juicing. And that supported my body. And it was enough. It got me through nursing school. I graduated nursing school pregnant with my son, my oldest, who's 21 now. And I was able to manage it for a while with using those things. But then anytime that there were increased levels of stress, it would flare up. And so again, I would go to my naturopath or my chiropractor, my acupuncturist, but I never was having like really long stretches of kind of remission, if you will. I was really having to work really hard to keep my body from having me just very much in pain and wanting to, stay in bed. I couldn't do that. I was a nurse. I was a provider for my family. I had young children. And it really wasn't until I started dealing with my trauma and understanding that I love the book Body Keeps the Score, that I really started to understand the connection to trauma and autoimmune. And I knew stress in our body triggers autoimmune responses as a nurse, but it really wasn't until I was willing to say, yeah, I have had trauma in my life, because I was spending so much time kind of denying it. Like, I didn't want to deal with it. So I just kept shoving it. And that was keeping me from being in a more healthy place. And so 7 years ago, I started on a journey with my own mentor coach who helped me and to really transform my life and learn new ways of coping. I needed to learn who I was. And as I've done that work over the past 7 years, I have more pain-free living. Just, there will be times that something will pop up, but it's not for long periods of time. I can go in, I can work with one of my integrative health practitioners, and within a few days be feeling better versus where I would be before actually doing the work of my trauma. So I really do think that we are a whole person, mind, body, spirit. And if we're not making sure that all of those things are being tended to, then we have a lot more variability in our overall well-being. Whereas, if you're just focused on your body, there's something mentally and emotionally that's going to kind of push you over the edge. But if you're kind of trying to be aware of all those different areas that make up who you are, then you find yourself in a much more balanced place. And that just brings so much joy and fulfillment when you're in balance.
Yeah, I so appreciate you saying that, because it's such a great reminder. And I think that so many people have been through trauma and maybe it has been unaddressed. And I know that this is also a goal of mine, is to address more of it. I've addressed a little bit of it, but I totally agree that it is most definitely it can be connected to the way that your genetic expression can express itself, right? Like, and because it is a form of stress. And so thank you so much for that great reminder. And that's something on your platform that your coaches, a lot of them are trauma informed. Is that correct? So they can help people in various capacities that have been through trauma. And then of course you also focus on mental health. And again, like, I love that holistic approach. And Megan, there's so much more we could talk about with this, but if someone were looking to work with you or someone on your platform in terms of coaching, what do you recommend to them in order to get started with you guys?
So probably the best thing to do is go to itsyourstorytotell.com. There's a chat button where you can set up a discovery call, and you'll meet with me first, and I'll help you decide which coach or which program is best for you based off of where you are in your journey. And you touched on this briefly, but the power of It's Your Story to Tell is that these coaches all have a story. We all have a story, but so often you don't share that story. So I spent a lot of years going to counseling, and I'm not saying counseling is bad. It's a tool. There's many different tools. So what I'm sharing is kind of what's the difference between a counselor and a coach. So I spent a lot of years going to a counselor, and I was looking to them like as the expert. What do I do tell me like the 5 steps. So I check it off my list that I'm doing those things. And I was not having a transformation because I was looking to someone else to tell me what I need to do. A coach is going to help you get curious and ask questions, helping you identify the root cause. And you are the expert of you, and you have an intuition that is inside of you that if you start getting curious, things will be revealed, including how is the best way for you to deal with this.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
we'll offer you strategies, but healing is not a one size fits all. So you try something and it may not work for you the way it works for me. And so then we'll try other strategies. So you might try journaling, or you might try mindfulness or breathing exercise. So we'll give you a lot of different tools, but it's going to take you testing them and seeing if that is going to help you or not. So we're not the expert as the coach. We're more of a guide. And how many people want to go climb Mount Everest with someone who's never done it before?
Yeah, no, I don't recommend it.
Who says, I'm an expert rock climber, I'm an expert at this, don't worry.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
But you want somebody who's, they've actually navigated that rock, that path, right?
Yes.
And so by finding somebody who has your story, obviously not exactly, but we have grief, we have domestic abuse, we have toxic relationships and how to set healthy boundaries, inner child healing. So we all willingly and openly share our stories because we want people to feel safe.
Yes.
And that's another benefit of having a coach who's willing to share their journey with you, is that you will be surprised how safe you feel when you don't feel alone. And you're not just sitting there with an expert looking at you, trying to evaluate, what's wrong with you? No, we're sitting there and sharing, and it just creates this space where you can let down your guard, where you can say the things that you haven't wanted to tell anybody because this person's being open and vulnerable and telling you their heart. The other thing about sharing our stories is that when you have a particular experience, it creates similar narratives. There's similarities in the way you talk to yourself.
Yes.
And so you can have a greater understanding of where that person is fast. So it's like, yeah, I recognize that in you because I've been there. Where if you haven't been there, you're having to ask a lot more questions to kind of gain the understanding. It's not that you can't, but this just, from my experience, from the clients I've worked with who have shared their different experiences, it's just an accelerated getting to the root cause.
Yeah. Megan, I couldn't agree more. I think it's absolutely brilliant. And I mean, and again, we'll transition into the coaches part of it, right? If someone's or someone who's an entrepreneur expert who wants to work with you, but it's the power of it's your story to tell. First of all, that's brilliant the way that you phrase that. And it is so true. And yes, a coach can be a guide, but it's also, you want a specific guide, right? Like someone who's climbed Mount Everest, someone who's been exactly where you want to go, meaning that they share a similar story, they've traveled a similar path, and then they've transformed and risen above it, right? That's very, very important, I think, and it makes healing so much easier, I think. And I love how you talk about transformation, and talk about transformational coaching as being a big part of your platform, because I really do think that's what people are looking for. You know, people want to feel more than like they're just getting by. right? Like they really want to feel alive and like feel like they're thriving, and regardless of where they may feel stuck, or whether they're dealing with trauma or a chronic condition or mental health issues, whatever it is. And so I just, yeah, I really, when I was just getting to know you and just landed on your website, It's Your Story to Tell, I immediately felt so much of what you're talking about, just that the impact, the healing impact, just being on there. So I just thank you so much.
Well, people don't like to talk about those things, right? I mean,
Exactly.
I didn't. I was a perfectionist, and I was in the corporate world. I was in boardrooms and sitting with the high-level executives, and you don't dare have these conversations, right? And so I want to change that, because we would have better employees, better work environments, more effective communication, and everybody would benefit if we could be in a place where we thought we could be honest and not have repercussions or judgments. And so I just decided, well, if this is the world I want, right? Because I do believe if we can dream it, we can achieve it.
Yeah.
I'm doing a dream workshop in just a couple weeks. And,
awesome.
you know, all of us have dreams. We also have nightmares, right? And all of these things can tell us about who we were created to be and what we're designed to do, what things that we need to address. So if we can pay attention to the nightmares, to the dreams, to the longings, to the places you feel stuck, because all of those areas hold the key for you to unlock the potential that are held in your dreams. And so as you start getting the keys and unlocking those areas, then there's nothing stopping you. We stop ourselves from living the most amazing lives. Like, we were created to thrive. I mean, think about when you are in a place where you're thriving and how good that feels. That's what we want to create in your life. And I still have really hard things. I'm going through some really hard things even now, but because I have the skills, because I've created like the capacity and the resilience, and I know, like, what is this teaching me? So I no longer run from it. I'm like, okay, this has a lesson for me.
Right.
I'm going to turn into it versus I used to run. And so, if you want something different in your life, you have to do something different.
Absolutely.
But we created these habits for years and years. And so we can get stuck by thinking, I don't even know what to do next. And that's why it's so helpful to have a coach or a community or a good friend that you can sit with, talk with, strategize, put a plan together, have accountability, that could look so many different ways in your life. But I can guarantee you, if you start engaging in those behaviors, that your life will be different.
Oh, I think that's so true. And I really do think that coaching is really coming into it's coming into the mainstream, and for a good reason, right? Because it works, and there is a place for it. Yes, like you were saying, there's a place for counseling, and there's a place for everything, but there is absolutely a place for coaching, because it's about kind of looking at those places that you're stuck and kind of refining your habits or developing new skills. And you're so good at bringing clarity to a situation, I think. And that's definitely one of your skills. And you have so many skills, Megan. And, and if someone were, let's talk a little bit maybe now about if someone is a business owner or a coach or an expert who's again, maybe feeling a little stuck. This was definitely my experience. And already just in meeting you, I can feel myself getting unstuck, right? Like, and you have skills that I don't necessarily have, right? Like we all can help each other.
And you have skills I don't have, right? Because you've written a book and I want to write a book. So that's the beauty of the collective, right? Is bringing in all of our different skills, because when we do that, we're functioning as a whole body, right? Because you have an arm and I have an arm and somebody else has a voice, and it's like we're able to do more and help more people when we do it collectively. And that's a big, I think, shift. And I actually think a lot more people are recognizing, especially in the younger generation, that collaboration is so much more rewarding than competition. And I'm a competitor. Like, I like to be better every day, but I'm not competing against Edie. I'm competing against, like, what does Megan want to do and be,
Exactly. Yeah. Like setting your own goals. Yeah. I mean, it's very important to set goals, like daily goals, like your MITs, right? Like your most important tasks, like remember what those are. And like, okay, have I achieved those or am I working on them? And then, so that, you could be competitive that way, but I couldn't agree more that yes, collaboration is definitely the key. And if someone's like myself, if you're looking for a way to take your business to the next level, or if you're feeling stuck and don't know what to do, and that you want to reach more people or need help with strategy or whatever it is, I highly recommend connecting with you, Megan, because Megan is very good at strategy among many other skill sets that are in sales, and really your whole platform is just so beautifully put together, and you make it all seem so effortless, right? Which is, it can be.
I have a team though, and that's the thing that I know where my strengths are, and I know where my weaknesses are. And it's not bad to have weaknesses, because we all have them. And if you are willing to admit that, then you can say, okay, how am I going to spend 80% of time in my strengths and like 20% over here? So how do I bring along people alongside of me to support those areas? And then we leverage each other. So people who aren't interested in coaching, that's okay, because I do business coaching, and consulting. And so I have another company called Next Level Business, and that's really geared towards an entrepreneur or a startup or just somebody who's like, I'm ready to take my business next level. Then I will work with you through that platform. If you are a coach and you don't want to join a platform, we would work over there. You don't have to join my platform in order to work together. But the benefit of the platform is that you have a group of like-minded individuals who are wanting to learn and grow. You have a really beautiful space and a platform, because each coach has their own page. Each coach gets the support to develop their story. They will have help in developing their lead magnet, which is what you give to customers so they can understand, or potential clients, so that they can understand who you are, how does coaching work, what service do you provide. So if you go on the page right now, you see there's 4 coaches, including me. Each coach has a page with their story, with their download. They also have an audible of the download. So we help you create all of these pieces, and we do it pretty quickly. So a coach joins and they're up on the website. They're hosted on the podcast with me. And then we train, and they get to be a podcast host and bring their friends or clients or people that have a story that is similar to theirs. They get to interview them. So it really then gives you an opportunity for visibility, but you don't have to, you're not employed by me. This is, you keep your business. You just have links that go out to your own scheduling platforms, your own social media. We're just a collective coming together, that we're economy of scale, because all of these technologies that we utilize are spendy. But if you are doing it as a collective and each person's just paying in, they're not having to spend the same amount of money. It also helps with time, because if you really want to do a great blog and a podcast and grow it to where even more than once a week you're doing something, it's a lot of effort and a lot of time. And then you don't have time for your clients. And so if we're spreading all of the tasks and things, the work across multiple people, then we can have more balance in our life. I also bring in experts to talk about social media. So I don't do my social media. I have a social media company who comes and helps me. Like, I create content. If you message, I'll be responding, but I don't edit it. I don't, they help with my podcast. So all of those things are benefits when you come on board, because you'll get coaches that charge a lot for their workshops, but again, we're doing it within the collective, and so it's spread out. So we're all like better together, elevating, and we find out, hey, Edie's great at writing books. Elissa, who does all of our Audible stuff and our mindfulness, she's a voice actor, coach, all these things. So she's leveraging her expertise, and then everybody's enjoying it and happy. Also, we create then our own referral network, because one of the coaches is a grief coach, and she lost her husband at, I think, 31, and she had 6 kids from 9 to 9 months. And so I can't understand the grief like she can. And so if someone comes to me and that's their story, I already know someone that can be a great fit for her. So we have our own referral network. And then when we're launching things and special events and doing workshops, we're all sharing about it on our social media. And so we get to support each other, and it helps to advertise what you're doing as well.
Oh, I think that's so brilliant. And yeah, I highly recommend everybody checking out It's Your Story to Tell platform. And again, Megan was also mentioning that she has another company, what's it called again? Next Level
Business. And
Next Level Business.
I don't know if I think I may not have given you that link, but it's nxtlevelbusiness.com. But if you get to me through It's Your Story to Tell, however, we'll get you to the right place, to get you the right resources, because we need more people willing to use their hard to make a difference in the world. That's my goal, right? Don't let your hard keep you stuck. Work through it, and then now go make a difference.
Oh, I love that. Like, do you say heart, like HARD, or heart?
Hard, like your hard, like whatever your hard was, that you went through. For me, it brings so much meaning, because I can't change that happened, but I can change how it defines me. And I don't have to be a victim. I can be a victor, and I can then use all of that I learned, and then in some way, it makes it worth it, that I went through that. I believe in Jesus, and there's a verse that for me that he'll use all things for good for those who love him.
I love that quote. What is it? Okay, wait, I know this. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Is that it?
So that's another one that I love. But this one is that he will use the hard, like he'll make it good. And I spent a long time like, well, this isn't good. Like what I'm going through, that's not good. And he's like, yeah, but when you surrender it and you allow it to change who you are to be better, it does become good. And we all have a choice. We can choose to allow it to keep us stuck. And I am speaking as somebody who did that for 37 years. I mean, obviously when I was younger, but I mean, in my life was, when I was 7 and I didn't talk about it, didn't even know how to share. And, but at some point you have a choice, like you have awareness. If you are not happy, it is a sign. Your body, your warnings, your internal warning system is going off when you feel your nervous system, your heart racing, getting short of breath, just feeling anxious or overwhelmed. Your body is telling you that there are things that you need to deal with. And you have two options: ignore it or run, because they're both the same thing. One, I thought I was doing something because I was avoiding, but I wasn't. It was the same. It was the flip side of the same coin. So some people, it's just like you either are running from it, like fight, flight, freeze, fawn, right? You may have a different response, but ultimately you're not dealing with it. Or you have the choice to say, okay, I'm going to learn how to sit in discomfort so that I can get curious. And that's a lot of learning to be able to regulate your nervous system, because our brain wants us to run. It feels like it's not safe. And so you're responding, but you have to say, oh, wait, I am not in an unsafe situation here. So my nervous system is remembering something.
Right. Yeah.
And I need to be able to go back there and understand it so that you can heal from it and not have it continue like to torment you. That's what the cycle. And breaking it is a lot of work, but worth it.
Megan, that you said that so well. There's so many insights here, and I think yes, for someone who's been through trauma, or I mean, there are so many things that could be considered a traumatic event, right? Anything that keeps you stuck is potentially a traumatic event. And then yes, it is about revisiting in a safe way and then recalibrating your nervous system. But then so much of that is, yes, there's some of it you have to do yourself, but then a lot of it is also, we were talking about this the other day, it's about finding a safe space with someone else, and they can also help you recalibrate your nervous system. So but it's kind of, it's finding a place in yourself where you can allow yourself to start to relax more, take some deeper breaths, and that will start to retrain your nervous system. And maybe some of it involves talking it out or reframing a situation. And then also finding safe people, whether it's a coach or a counselor, someone who can hold space for you, who can mirror to you what it looks like to feel safe, right? And to feel empowered,
and to validate your experience, because you've been running from it and hiding it, because likely, trauma is not just the event that happened. It's that the event happened and you didn't have the support to process, make sense of it, and find closure in it. So that happens in relationship. And trauma, you're alone with this situation of what happened. And so that's why it really does require someone else to be able to sit with you, acknowledge it, validate it, because you need that in order to start moving forward from it. Because if you aren't able to process it and come to a place of acknowledgement and feeling like, yeah, that was wrong.
Right.
But, right? And like, not but, and. So yes, that was a bad experience, and I can move forward.
Yeah, so well said. And that's, I really do feel like this will be healing for people, even just to listen to this. And then hopefully people, whether they're looking for someone to work with, or even if they are a coach or a business owner themselves, again, we all could use deeper healing. And or maybe you're feeling stuck in your business because of a traumatic event, right? Like I can definitely relate to that. Yeah. So it's it's all about continuing to move forward, right? And doing everything you can to show up for yourself, and whatever that looks like. And generally speaking, it requires the support of other people, and whether it's collaboration or support. And so and again, I know there's so much more we could talk about, Megan, but but maybe just first of all, let's make sure everyone knows where to go. I know that you've shared before, but are there any links that you want to share again, or call to actions? And then we can do like kind of like a final thoughts.
Okay.
Or takeaways.
Sure. Yeah. So it's your story to tell.com is probably one of the easiest ways, because you can get to every place from there. So we have a blog that you can go and search different topics and find things. They're written by different coaches, so you can see from different perspectives. Like Edie said, we have a podcast, and it's you can get to it from there. And it's all about people sharing their stories and how they went through something hard, and how they learned, how they grew, what strategies helped them, and really just giving you a space to see how other people approach it. Because like I said, there's not a one size fits all. We are on social media. So you can find us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, and so we're everywhere. You can find us. But I would really say, one of our goals is to be able to make transformation possible for everyone. And we have different things in order to do that. So a lot of free resources. Each coach has a really significant download. It will walk you through your journey. We launch every workshop that we do at $9 in order to try to make it possible for everyone. So in the month that it's launching, you'll find that. So, sign up for our notifications so that you know about those things, because our goal is really to help support you in the journey. So, and then we have coaches that donate their services. We also have people who we have coached. One of the things we do is paying it forward. So there's people that we've worked with that couldn't afford it at the time, because let's face it, when we're in a really hard place, our finances also are impacted. And so we work with people where they're at. And then we have people who are giving back to scholarships for other people. So if you feel like you could benefit from having someone come alongside of you, then I want you to reach out, because we will try to figure out a way to support you. We also have a 20-week transformation, which is a way to blend a coach and courses. So there's 3 courses that we recommend, and it's growth mindset, empowerment, and effective communication. And so we walk you through that, and you have a coach that's assigned to you that supports you. And you have, I think, about 6 hours of coaching, but basically it works out to where it's like $200 a month. So like
awesome.
If you don't have insurance and you're paying to go to a counselor, you're going to pay practically that amount for one visit. And this is something where you're getting a lot of content, and you're going to be able to walk yourself through a transformation. So I hope you'll reach out, and we can meet you where you're at and give you some support.
That's really wonderful, Megan. Thank you so much for sharing all of that. And then, do you have any final takeaways or anything that's coming to mind that we either haven't talked about or that you feel like is really relevant that you want to make sure that people hear or understand?
I think the thing that's coming up for me when you ask that question is don't wait. You know if you're stuck. You know if you're unhappy, you're overwhelmed, or you're anxious. And so it's not going to get better just by ignoring it. And so do something different, whatever that is. You know, I think that when we start to get curious and if we're willing to ask ourselves the hard questions, we can coach ourselves through things. So the key is being willing to be curious and ask yourself the question, because that shift in your mindset is going to start bringing up, oh, okay, I need to look at that. I need to work on that. So I guess the thing I would leave you with is don't wait. And the other piece would be to, when you notice something in yourself, so there's something coming up, your nervous system is alerting you, that you get curious, but you ask why 5 times. So that will help you get to the root cause more than, because just think about it. Sometimes we'll say, oh, I'm angry. You're not really angry. There's something else going on. Anger is how you're expressing it, but maybe you're actually feeling insecure. So then that you ask, why am I insecure? Well, that person said something that made me feel unlovable. Okay, why do I feel unlovable? Because my parents never told me they love me, right? So we just got to a much deeper cause to that expression of anger. And then you can start dealing with that and offering yourself compassion, because oftentimes, you know, you respond in anger and then you are angry at yourself and you're shaming yourself and you're feeling, and then you become a victim and you're not in a growth mindset and you can't move forward and dump on yourself at the same time. So you have to really start changing the way you think and then the way you talk. And you could start today. That would be do it.
Megan, that is such great advice. Wow. I do love those are some great tips for self-coaching. And then I of course highly recommend finding someone also to hold space for you and for several different reasons. And because there's so many things you won't think of on your own, and you might have tools and resources as well. And there's just so many, it can make it go quicker, your healing process and your transformation process. And well, thank you so much, Megan, for being here. And it's such an honor. It's been so wonderful to get to know you. And thank you everyone for listening. I know we'll have a lot of listens and in the replay, and there was someone watching live as well. So thank you to whomever that was. And yeah, we'll share this everywhere. And it's just, I really appreciate all of your insights and gifts and, just skills and heart and everything. So thank you so much, Megan. And I'll talk to you in a little bit. And everyone, again, thank you for tuning in today, and go check out It's Your Story to Tell.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.